A month of jury duty leads to a new path, the MPDC Reserve Police Officer Corps. In July 1976, I was summoned for a month of D.C. Superior Court jury duty. 400 of us were housed in a barely air-conditioned huge room in the old pension building, now the National Building Museum. The 2 soda machines that served the room more than overwhelmed the capacity of the window air conditioning units. As for my 399 fellow jurors and me, we generated our own heat playing cards, reading Atlas Shrugged, and I suppose hoping that the next time a marshal entered the room, we wouldn't be called for a panel, though I suppose at the time we all wished for a break from the boring reading room routine. I sat on 3 juries that July and was the foreman for one. I recall how surprised I was that so many of my fellow jurors were barely literate. All 3 of the cases were fairly contentious, and I don't recall a really clear decision of guilty with some other charge being thrown out or otherwise dealt away. One thing that did strike me was this. It seemed that all of the police officers who testified in these cases were extremely overwhelmed, unprepared, or uncertain of their testimony. May I refer to my notes they'd often ask, and the judge would reply they'd have to recall their testimony from memory. This was often tossed out during jury deliberations. That cop couldn't remember the facts was often the call. About that same time, an article had appeared in the AU faculty staff newsletter saying that the D.C. government was looking for residents to serve on various boards and commissions, the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board, barbering, zoning, etc. And I got one of the applications and started to fill it out. One question I was unable to answer. List all volunteer activities in which you are involved. Well, I wasn't involved in any. So I somehow paired my lack of volunteerism with the obvious need to provide some kind of assistance to the obviously overwhelmed members of the Metropolitan Police Department. One afternoon, I called the 2nd District and asked, "Do you all ever need volunteers to help process paperwork or provide other services so that your officers can spend more time on the street?" or something to that effect. "Call SOD at this number. They coordinate that stuff," the rather gruff voice advised, but provided the phone number. I called, asked the same question, and was told, "Be here at 23rd and L Street Tuesday night at 7:30. Honestly, the next thing I knew, I was standing in the roll call room of SOD, the Special Operations Division, raising my right hand and swearing to uphold the Constitution, perform my duties, etc. I don't think I'd done something like that since I took the School Safety Patrol Pledge in 1960. So my simple, "Do you use volunteers?" morphed into a sworn, uniformed position in the Metropolitan Police Department Reserve Corps, complete with 17 weeks of twice-weekly, 3-hour per session training at the MPDC Academy in Anacostia, sitting on a hill overlooking the Blue Plains Water Treatment Facility. 20 years later, I would find myself in this location performing the duties of a promotional panel assessor as a major in the Fairfax County Police Department for the position of sergeant in the Metropolitan Police Department, a competition that they were having and needed outside assessors for. The classroom instruction seemed ponderous. What are the 6 probable cause misdemeanors? Let's see. Petty larceny, simple assault, unlawful entry, receiving stolen property, attempted grand larceny, attempted unauthorized use of a vehicle, and attempted burglary. Once you knew them, you never forgot them. Followed by traffic and parking laws, safe operation of police vehicles with no behind-the-wheel training, firearms training. In fact, we did spend several hours at their range, but quote, "Unless specifically authorized by the Chief of Police in times of extreme urgency, members of the MPDC Reserve Corps shall not be armed," unquote. Many of my friends and associates would exclaim later, "I can't believe you're actually out there without a gun." And of course, there were endless sessions on police forms, paperwork, and procedures. In all, it was quite informative, however tedious it was.